In this video, I'm going to share how we provide quick quotes during an animation inquiry to save time, provide value, and win more work. Hey, it's John Draper here from starterstudio.com, where we help you succeed in your animation careers and grow your own successful animation studio. Working out ballpark quotes on the fly and being able to discuss the budget for a project is a key skill to growing an animation studio or working as a successful freelancer. But let's face it, the sordid subject of money can be hard to approach, for you as well as the client. But really, it is worth tackling early on in the conversation to save wasted time and help guide realistic expectations for both sides, free up creative ideas sooner, and provide viable proposals. But yes, it's understandably hard to find the right approach. If you go too low, you risk looking unprofessional, making a loss on the project, or losing out on the extra potential profit that comes with higher end work. Versus going in too high, which could be perceived as overcharging or that you're simply too expensive for them, which means you'll quickly lose a project to a cheaper competitor before you've had a chance to explain the value of your work or negotiate once you better understand the project scope. Of course, sometimes the available budget is too low for you, and that's fine, but even that can be handled in a positive way, benefiting you in the future. So how should you approach the conversation and provide figures that help secure more projects without under or over quoting? In this video, I want to share the 3 approaches we take at our own studio. It's a tried and tested method that we've fine-tuned over the years, and we're much more comfortable talking about project budgets, and we've seen increased work as a result. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button and you'll find an array of handy links in the description below. On with the video. To enable quick, helpful and open pricing discussion when dealing with an inquiry, we have 3 steps in place. The first is to reduce the number of low budget inquiries. The second is to share a ballpark quote on a call and read the response correctly. The third is to be prepared to answer questions and share examples. Now let's dive into each of those for more detail. First up, we want to reduce the number of low budget inquiries. We'd rather not waste any time on a call or crafting a detailed quote for a production when the available budget is way below what we'd consider worth pursuing. It's not helpful for us or the person getting in contact, so we want to limit the inquiries to those more likely to have the sort of budget we're interested in. What that budget threshold is may vary depending on your location, your niche, and your level of demand. For our studio at the moment, most project budgets fall between 6 and 35k. As the majority of inquiries we receive come via our website, it's the most sensible place to filter out some lower budget projects before they make contact. Our site visitors typically check out 2 or 3 bits of our work before either calling the studio or using one of the contact forms. Now, we don't have any fixed pricing for our animation productions, as there are simply too many variables and we don't want to compete with other studios solely on price. Instead, we prefer to present value through quality of service and creative, which means we're keen to have a conversation at the earliest stage. However, I absolutely see the value of some instant quick pricing for a potential customer who's browsing a range of studio sites and trying to get an idea of cost. Now, this might be weeks, months, or even years before they're ready to move on to making an actual inquiry. That's why, after a good deal of pondering and a little bit of coding, we have our own bespoke pricing calculator that's clearly accessible on our website. Now, you could take the same approach and have an online calculator on your website, or just simply share a few project examples with some criteria and a ballpark price range at the bottom. The main goal is to reduce the number of low budget inquiries by providing info about potential production costs and allow them to decide whether an animated video is suitable to them or their business. They can quickly choose from some basic options: how long, how complex, number of characters, and get a rough idea of required budget. It's intentionally vague around complexity, which is kinda intangible and tricky for experienced animators to convey, let alone clients who may not be familiar with design trends or animation techniques. So just by offering a ballpark quote on our site, we're already providing value to the client, teaching them about some of the animation production options and potential budgets. Some may get in touch there and then, whilst others will leave in search of a cheaper option, and others will reach out once they're further along with their project plans. It serves its purpose of highlighting that an explainer or promo animation will cost thousands of pounds rather than hundreds. It stops a good number of inquiries, saving our small studio team to concentrate on other things, like making tea. If an inquiry comes in that we're not 100% convinced it's got potential due to the way it's written, the lack of info, unknown company brand, or if it includes a broken URL, we'll respond with a pre-written message that includes a few examples, ask some key questions about the project, and highlight our typical project budgets. Plus, we'll share a link to book a time to chat about the project over Zoom or on the phone. We actually have 3 email templates we use to reply to inquiries. The response or lack of helps us gauge whether they're viable projects before taking up our team's time. We actually share those 3 email templates as part of the Starter Studio Pro course. Then once we've got a call or Zoom meeting scheduled, we can move on to step 2, start building rapport and provide a more bespoke ballpark quote. Don't be scared about talking about money. During that first phone call, online video call or in-person meeting, it's important to cover the subject of budget and not leave it till after the meeting when you're going to be investing time putting together a pitch or a proposal with examples and a detailed cost breakdown. Also, discussing money on the call allows you to read the reaction and determine roughly where the budget might be and provide more relevant examples and creative ideas. You don't need to feel awkward about moving on to the subject of money. It's part and parcel of doing business. I'll generally wait till we've chatted about the project requirements and goals. I'll then have a rough idea of the scope of the project, the client, the value of the work to them, and their expectations of the quality and timeline. I'll say something like, okay, and in terms of project budget, did you have anything in mind or set already? This provides an opportunity for them to share a fixed project budget, which some companies will have in place already. Yes, we've got 500 billion pounds to work with. You can then offer up examples and production ideas which that budget affords. Of course, many will be less willing to show their cards quite so easily. No, we don't have a fixed price in mind just yet, so it'd be interesting to know what you might charge for a 2-minute animation as discussed. Cue brain close-up. Time to arrive at a ballpark figure, you have 5 seconds. 1 day of creative, 2 days asset design, 4 days motion graphics, 1 day's editing, 1 day of amends, basic characters, add 2 days, that's 10 days, plus a voiceover, and a producer. Then some value-based pricing comes into play. For a small to medium company in need of a video for in-house training or some social media posts, the video is not key to the company's overall success, so I'll understandably quote on the lower end, set expectations lower with less complex examples of work, have fewer fixed rounds of amends and milestones. I still want to deliver a great video and service, but I'm taking into account the amount of budget an individual or small company is likely to have available to them to spend on marketing or training. If it's a larger organisation, a well-known brand or a well-funded startup who have a lot, potentially millions, riding on the success of a new product or key campaign, and the video is a key component, they'll be more willing to pay for you to bring your A game, to bring together the best talented team members, and dedicate more time to the project. You can expect more rounds of creative review early on and throughout, with more stakeholders providing comment. With that in mind, you can rightfully quote much higher to cover the quality of production, your increased costs, and the higher level of service they expect due to the value it's going to bring. In both cases, I'm taking a value-based pricing approach, and then adjusting the ballpark figure in my head accordingly, higher or lower. Plus, we might adjust lower if the project provides some reward other than purely financial. For example, if it's a really cool creative or a brand we'd love to be associated with. But if you're not allowed to showcase the work and they want it done in a short amount of time, which brings some levels of stress and possible overtime costs, the number goes back up. So with all of that mental arithmetic thrown around in your head, it's time to commit and say it out loud. Of course, for a 2-minute explainer animation like this with 2 characters, storyboarding, creative ideas, some asset design, background design, all the animation, some sound design, professional voiceover, and 2 to 3 rounds of amends, you're looking between £6,000 and £11,000. Oh, and plus VAT. There, you've said it. You've put the number out there. A pretty broad ballpark. Now wait. We find the replies are typically some of the following. Okay, great. Yeah, that's within the realm of what we were thinking. If you can provide some examples that go above and beyond and push the creative envelope, that'll be really good to see as well. Or, okay, that's good to know, and I appreciate quality videos do come with a slight premium. Somewhere in the middle of that range would be doable. Or, oh right, quite a broad range there. Can you give me an idea about what it is that makes a video worth £11,000 rather than £6,000? Or, okay, we were probably thinking more around the £1,000, maybe £2,000 mark. Sorry. You can then tailor your own response and eventual detailed quote to their reply, offering to provide a higher cost production option for one, a quote somewhere in the middle of the ballpark for another, and some more info about what determines the complexity of the animation for the third. And for the last one, you might say, that's absolutely fine and good to know. We can put together some simpler creative ideas, working to a lower budget, and still deliver a professional result, and we'll share those and go from there. Or if it's not of interest, That's absolutely fine, and I appreciate we're not the cheapest. We just like to work to a certain level of quality and so can't cater to every budget. If it's helpful, I'm happy to share some recommendations for a few freelancers and recommend some websites that it might be worth posting the brief on. And there we go, a well-reasoned response to your ballpark figure. You now know the quote you're putting forward has a higher chance of being positively received and profitable for your company compared to blindly sending something in. Of course, if a project goes super smoothly and quickly without the need for any extra costed time doing amends, you'll be very happy with the extra profit and they'll be happy with the ease at which you delivered the project. Also, if you get the hint that there might be repeat business or you know they're in talks with other studios, you might haggle your ballpark quote down a bit so you're better aligned to win the work. You may be interested in some of the free content we've got over at startastudio.com, including on our free mini course where we include some of these conversation snippets from this very video, plus some others on how we deal with ballpark budgets and respond to the different replies. We also have a free Facebook group for aspiring studio owners, and if you don't mind pressing like on the video, it's really helpful for the channel and encourages us to make some more helpful content. You can find out more about our award-winning animation studio startup course over at startastudio.com. Thanks very much for watching. Have an awesome day. Cheers.